All right, boys. Um, I've talked recently about like that what I call commercial creep, and that's how you get in with high volume customers who buy in volume, and there's a kind of natural creep to it when you're dealing with property managers. Like you just get naturally just get different properties, and that's really paying off for me right now. Like I've got a ton of service work going on. Like it's jumping. I definitely am need to hire one more full time service plumber. Because I keep having to pull my construction guys off to run service like crazy, and I'm limiting what my other guy can do, and I want him to start building his own crew up where he's kind of like I want him to get a guy that's gonna be under him and to start building his crew from there to where he's got 3-4 guys under him doing service, and it's literally growing at that rate where like I don't know, the first of the year it's not crazy at all to think we could have the business for at least 2 more guys, and then maybe only a quarter away, like by April or May, be where we have 3 guys under my other service guy, and he's kind of working in the office more. And one of the ways we did that is I'm gonna like give a real world example of like exactly the way that this one job played out that led to a pretty high volume service customer. Okay, so a lot of the construction work I do is the medical build out stuff. So the way that works is doctors are associated with a lot of like doctors you've probably seen on Scrubs and shit where like the doctors start their private practice. Well, you kind of there's 2 ways to go. But typically they're associated with I believe like a network some sort, right? Like either like a hospital group or a university. Like there's that private practice is still associated with another hospital organization or some shit. And these doctors will start their own private practice, and they go through there's companies that deal with like the leasing out of these offices for like 10-year periods at these different spaces. And that's where I come in. I do the build outs. Well, the company that does all this leasing out stuff has more business than even like the general contractor I deal with can handle. He deals with all types of other GCs. And another general contractor that I don't know, another plumbing company that's not me, did a suite at one building I worked at. And obviously the shit I did went well. There's no problems. And they had a bunch of issues at this one with this water heater. And the other general contractor was kind of being a dick about it and was like, I don't know what to tell you. Fuck you. I don't, it's we put it in like a year ago. There's nothing wrong with the heater. We don't know what to tell you. Fuck you. It's your deal with it. And the other plumbing company was saying it's not us, it's the building. And so this like leasing company that's huge. I mean, like I'm telling you guys, like bigger, they spend more money on plumbing than anybody I've dealt with. Like for real, like a ton, like like DR Horton levels of buying power, right? There's so well, I don't want to give anything away, but so the big dog for that company gets a hold of me. Like, first of all, that GC that hires me calls me. He's like, "Hey, man, I just did you a huge favor. It's going to change your fucking life and your family's life." I was like, "What the fuck? What are we talking about?" And he was like, "I got you in touch with." He says the guy's name. He runs this big company, and I was like, oh, he's like, that's where I get all my jobs from, or most of my jobs from, and I don't even get a quarter of what he's got. And I was like, shit. He was like, and he knows how good you are from looking at all your work and shit, and he's got a problem over there at this building you've already worked at. Can you go take a look for him? And so I go for free. I send Randall over there for free, and he spends like 2-3 hours. And what's going on, I know this is a long story, but I want y'all to understand what happened here. What's going on is this water heater. Well, there's the hot water system for this whole suite, just this one suite on the second floor of like a 8-story, 10-story building, something like that. The second floor, this one, like half of the second floor, just this one suite is getting all this scale build up and all their different fixtures, all the faucets, everything that has hot water connected to it. And all the tempering valves under the sinks keep getting clogged up, and it's a bad deal. And so Randall goes and looks, and we tell him, we're like, well, I was like, it seems like an inordinate amount of scale, because Randall, while he was there, he flushed the water heater to a degree and just like was able to fill up a fucking cup full of blue scale, like goopy fucking scale. And so I said, okay, well, I was like, I don't know. I was like, this is more scale than I would think a 1-year-old water heater could produce. I don't think that's really capable of doing that. And that's what Randall's saying too. So I'm saying maybe there's like, it looks like the scale from a water heater, electric water heater. That's what electric water heater scale looks like. It's kind of like bluish or kind of like goopy, it's what it looks like. And but I was like, I don't know, maybe there's like a storage tank somewhere, like an old electric heater somewhere that's somehow connected to this, and we're getting the scale. I don't know. There's something that's got to be going on. But I was like, what we need to do is we need to change the anode rods and flush this heater out and come and just flush all the lines, clean all the tempering valves, and get all the scale that's in it out right now. And that's the first thing we're going to do. And I give them a quote to do that of like fucking $700, dude. Not a lot of money, like $695. Very cheap price because this is an important customer. This is a big fucking guy. And I'm trying to come in and be the fucking hero, you know what I mean? And so we come out on a Saturday, do that. And we'd already removed a shitload of scale the previous day when we were out there for free, just kind of like meeting with their people and going over all this. And a shitload more comes out that Saturday, a shitload more. And like all the fucking tempering valves, they're all caked in fucking this blue goop. And I was like, what the fuck? We do it, and I tell them, I was like, look, you know, we did a thorough job, but I don't think we've solved anything. I think this is going to be a problem in the near future. I think we need to spend more time tracing water lines and trying to figure this out. And that's when they want to have a meeting with me. Because this is a big deal. This is a very, you know, this is like a $10,000 medical suite in a high rise. So this is a very expensive lease. Like, I don't even want to say the numbers. It's fucking crazy expensive. And it's 10-year leases. So this has to be dealt with. Doctors are talking about, like, I can't use my sinks. I'll fucking bail out on this. And they've already spent money on this whole build out. And these build outs are only good for that doctor. The next doctor that's on the 10-year lease is going to want it set up for their setup, not this other guy's setup. Very rarely do they just like come in without moving shit around. Because they pay a lot of money. So this has to get resolved. So, but I'm telling them, I don't think we've solved it. I obviously have to charge them the money. I did charge them. And I meet with them, and they're building engineering guys who don't know me are being real hostile. And then like the top guy for the company is like, yo, why y'all being a dick to him, man? Like, he's here to help us. He's not even like charging us. Like, he's here as like a goodwill gesture, bro. And I was like, well, let me do some research on this shit. I was like, I'm just going to call the manufacturer of the heater just to see, you know, what they think, because this seems inordinate, you know? And I was like, maybe like the plastic liner's failing or something. I don't know. Or the glass liner or something. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Well, I called the manufacturer and they tell me what's going on. They were like, oh, yeah, I've heard this a million times. Aluminum hydroxide. I was like, aluminum who? And they're like, hydroxide. They're like, if you have aluminum anode rods in like Texas, your area, the pH of the water is such that it creates like a massive amount of aluminum hydroxide on these high wattage electric water heaters. And I was like, okay, because this is like an 18 kW heater. It's a big boy, you know. And so I figured that out. I'm super excited. They even sent me this whole printout on aluminum hydroxide and how like it's not covered under warranty. You need to change it to magnesium rods, and they give me the part number. I order the exact right rods, call this guy back, put it in for a fucking deal, right? But in all honesty, we wound up spending like 30 man hours to do like $1,100 in revenue off like, and like the margin on that $1,100, even like on site margin, like if I only figured the time, like the tool hours was like 20, it was like nothing. We made pennies. We lost money doing this, right? But I was getting to be the hero for an ultra high volume customer, okay? And I did save the day. And I was ignorant. I didn't even know what the fuck I had to do, right? The manufacturer had to save my ass and like tell me what to do. But I was still open about that. I told the guy, I don't know, I'm gonna call the manufacturer, see what the fuck. It's totally transparent about everything, but it was very clear that I was like, I wasn't concerned about making money off of him. I was only concerned about solving his problem. And that was like my whole concern. I'm going to call you back, dope. And so he, you know, after this gets solved, he's like, man, you know, he's like, Corey, you really fucking came through for me, man. He was like, I won't forget this. And he had talked to another guy for a big hospital network that's like associated with his shit. I don't want to give shit away because like these companies you know of. And this other guy was like, no, he saved our ass at fucking in Fort Worth with that one property that was trying to fuck us. And I'm not even going to get into that, but I saved their ass on this one project. And so these guys are thinking I'm the shit. And, sorry, I keep getting texts and emails. They refer me to this other company that does build out work. And I get like 3 build outs from them now. But that other company that does the build out, they do a lot of like servicey shit for a lot of these offices. And so they've been giving me, like, they've been blowing me up with service calls, like, you know, and every call is like $700-800. It's been a shitload of them. So, like, you know, you can see how I spent, like I said, like 30 total man hours on this fucking bullshit job that gave me like $1,100 in revenue, right? But it turned into a $70,000 build out with a new customer. Okay, $70,000, like $9,000, like a $12,000, like a little, and then like a bunch of servicey ones from like 1,500 to 800 to 900, a bunch, like multiples a week since then. So, you know, like, and I think once you're a service tech, or you're like a guy that's doing the labor, invoicing the labor, billing it out, it all seems more expensive than it is a little bit to you. It really does. Like the cost, like your version of what you think it costs is, let me think of a different way to say this. Like, we don't realize the value that we can get with these high volume customers, right? This isn't like, that customer isn't a homeowner who just has 2 bathrooms and is only interested in calling a plumber. Never, you know what I mean? They're hoping they never have to call you. You don't ever want to spend money on plumbers, but there's a lot of, or whatever trade you do, electrical or whatever, you know, but there's a lot of customers who inevitably are going to have to call plumbers multiple times a week, or whoever multiple times a week. Those customers, those college boys, the business development guys, the people that are professionals at getting sales, they understand that you need to be willing to invest a shitload of time before you've even made $1, okay? And the payoffs from that are awesome. Now, like I said, don't go wasting your time. Like a guy who owns 1 restaurant, right? That's not that lead. A guy who has a fucking gas station, not that lead. A guy who just a homeowner, not that lead, okay? A property manager that is not a piece of shit, like a guy that owns 100 fucking homes and is not a piece of shit slumlord, that's that lead, you know? There's different ways to think about it, but the church pastor could be that lead at a big church, right? If you do good by him, he can say, hey guys, you know, so-and-so helped me out. Like, that's a good lead. You need to think of who can be those volume customers and be willing to spend that time. Because here's the reason I'm making this video, is because before I explain to y'all how fruitful that 30 man hours was for that I spent for this guy to make $1,100, massively fruitful, right? Massively fruitful. This customer will equal about fucking more than $500,000 a year, more than $500,000 a year for me, okay? Like, before I got to the good part of that more than $500,000 a year, like your Jared Williams, your $1 million plumber, they're going to say, that's what you get with commercial. You get 30 hours for $1,100. It takes, you got to sign in, you got to get badges. It's hard to park. It's far away. Flat rate breaks down because, you know, something on the 7th floor that you got to get through security on. How do you know what I mean? How do you flat rate that? You know what I mean? Like, I can see why they say that. But you're building those relationships, those high volume relationships, where it don't take long at all before you're pricing on margin, and you scale up to be as big as I am now, and you're still operating on this like 45-50% gross margin. So I don't know. That's a real life example of how I did it, like step by step. Y'all could see I wasn't like, there was nothing I did that was extraordinary. There was nothing I did that was amazing. You know what I mean? But it led to this massive customer that got me both construction and service work, like a shitload of service work, boys. Like, and like understand, I'm talking a lot of service. So, bah.